Welcome back to Self Love Ignited. On today's episode, I am chatting with my friend, my mentor, and my client, Ange de Lumière. She really gets into how she used to hate her body. She grew up in a family where she was ashamed of what she looked like, and that followed her very much into her adulthood. And over the last few years, she has intentionally begun to peel back those layers and learned to love herself more. More recently, she finally bit the bullet and got a professional photo shoot done, and it was really a life-changing experience for her. Ange is an autistic business intuition mentor who works with brilliant entrepreneurs who want to create success on their terms by helping them honor and strengthen their intuition. Ange worked as a lawyer for 15 years, and then she branched out into what she calls her PhD in intuition, and she is here today to share her incredible story with you. My name is Katie Allen, and this is Self Love Ignited. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Self Love Ignited. Today on the podcast, I'm interviewing Ange de Lumière. Ange is my friend. She is my mentor. And I am really, really excited about this interview. So, Ange, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. And you also forgot that I am your client.
That's
right?
true. Yes. Yes. We have
I
a very
hired
complicated.
you about a year ago.
You did.
Because I had a very specific goal in mind.
Yes.
And I knew you would be the right person.
Yes.
And I was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've accomplished what I had set myself to do,
mm-hmm.
which for some people is the easiest thing, on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Smile, the camera's coming, job done.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Not for you. Not for you.
For me, there was a little bit more work to that. And it's been my life story, really. So that's maybe why I'm here on this podcast as well, to share where I've started and where I'm at and the journey.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
A to B, and the journey is not finished by any means. So it's going to be an interesting one.
As long as you're still breathing, you're still on the journey, right? It doesn't
Absolutely.
end just when you reach.
You don't
one
stop
goal.
learning.
No.
Yeah.
No. So I would love to, I guess, before we get into the details of your story, why don't you just take a moment and introduce yourself to everybody listening so that they know who you are, a little bit of background.
Okay, so of course I want to say what is of interest to your listeners, not what I want to say, because there might be two completely different things. So I will say that I'm French, and hence my name, Ange de Lumière. I live in the UK. I have 4 children, and I've always struggled with self-image. Well, actually, that's not completely true. Not as a small child, but very, very soon, my well-meaning grandmother and mother made sure that I felt really bad about myself so that I wouldn't become vain. That was their job. I was raised in a Catholic family where vanity and self-love were considered evil. And that had to be, all that confidence I had, all that joy, all that, what that the little children have. I remember looking at my own children, because I was blessed with 4 children and 2 daughters, and my youngest used to look at herself in the mirror and send kisses to herself. And I just loved it so much. But I know that my mother taught me off for that and made sure that I never did it again. And so I never did it again. And that was it. That was job done. Yeah. Well done, Mum. To the point where I couldn't look at myself in the mirror without hating myself. Really good job, Mum. Brownie points for that. To the point where I had no mirrors in the house. Yep. And very often my kids would say, "Oh, Mum, you have a bit of moisturizing cream on your face." I was like, "Oh, it suffice, not a problem. I don't have to look at my face when I put my moisturizer on, because really this is not important." So in a way, I'm glad I'm very grateful for my children to have helped me on my journey of self-love.
Yeah.
And I'm also very grateful specifically to my daughters. And I don't know why it's specifically my daughters who helped me more than my sons, but um, they've really shown a light on my upbringing and what was terribly wrong with it. And and I think part of the journey I'm doing is for them as well.
Yeah.
And all the little girls and little boys out there who are struggling maybe with self-worth, self-image, because it's boys too now, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It sure is.
So yeah, that's where I come from, and I've come to a particular mileage or a milestone, not mileage, in my life, because it's been 12 years since I did the first photo shoot for my first book that was published in 2009, and I had a dream to reproduce the photo shoot, so to speak, with me. I thought it was going to be 10 years later. I thought I would use the same photographer, the same pose. I thought I would straighten my hair. None of this happened.
Yep.
It was a very different photo shoot from the first one, but it
Mhm.
was a very important one because I wanted there to be a before and after for people to see that you can mature and remain the same vibrant person
Mhm.
and actually add depth to it and get better and better, like a good wine. That's what I got to say.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a good wine. I age well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get more tasty with time. You know, I get more body. I get
Mhm.
a fuller
Mhm.
experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm loving it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a long introduction.
Yeah. I love that word though that you use, depth. You have more depth. Because I think society, we're definitely off on a tangent, but that's fine. I think society likes to say, especially as women age, you should always be trying to look younger, trying to look more youthful, trying, and we're always getting that message. Yet as we age, we become, in my eyes, so much more beautiful because we have more depth, we have more layers, we have more life lessons and more wisdom. And when you try to hide that by always looking younger, you're selling yourself short, and the world is losing out on a lot by not seeing all of you.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's because I didn't realize. I mean, I knew we lived in an ageist society. Don't, you know, I'm not stupid.
Mhm.
It's everywhere.
Yep.
Like you open a magazine and it's there.
Yep.
But it's when I stopped coloring my hair, and I didn't even want to color my hair to start with. I did that because my husband was like, "Oh, you're getting some gray hair." You know, he wanted me to look younger. I was
Mhm.
like, "Why did I give in?" But it doesn't matter. It was an experience, right?
Mhm.
And then after 10 years, I decided, no, it's not for me. I'm sorry, darling. You're going to have me with gray hair. And so I stopped dyeing my hair. And I thought I had no issue with it. I really didn't. I looked 10 years younger with my hair dyed. And I thought I had zero issue with looking 10 years older.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was I wrong? But not in the ways that I thought it would. And that was the interesting bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm quite a bit of an activist about all the sorts of ism, including ageism.
Yeah.
But of course, it's one thing to look 10 years younger in the mirror, and it's one thing to look your age in the mirror. And it doesn't really matter, but it does because we've been conditioned that way.
Mhm.
But that didn't hit me too hard, although it took some time to get used to it. I think it's the first vertical line on my face that was the hardest one to accept. And I didn't even think I cared about lines and wrinkles because I really don't. But suddenly there was that deeper mark on my face, and I was like, I think I'm crossing a threshold here.
Mhm.
I need to acknowledge that.
Mhm.
It took me only a day, so you know it wasn't a big one,
Right.
but it was
Right.
there, and
Right.
I had to notice and take stock. Uh, so I know we're on a tangent again, but I now absolutely love everything about me. Almost. I would be lying if I said I would love everything.
Mhm.
But I this last photo shoot has really helped, and you've helped me so much. We need to talk about that, don't we, Katie?
Yeah.
Because that was huge. That was massive.
Yeah.
Because of course, the last photo shoot I did was for the book cover of a book that I called The Journey of the Slim Soul, which is about losing weight, releasing whatever, and also expectations and also relaxing into your own skin, all that sort of stuff. So I was happy that I had lost weight for the book, but it was also part of the book to be looking good because that's the message of the book.
Right.
And in a way, I really wanted this new photo shoot 12 years later of me being able to say, I lost the weight again. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I had another baby in the meantime, and I've been having a sort of really intense and passionate relationship with chocolate in the past 2-3 years. And maybe we'll talk about that because that's been part of the issue. Maybe it's not an issue. I'm making it an issue. My body just loves it. So why am I making it an issue?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all these little things in mindset are important as well, aren't they? To take stock and notice. I think on the self-love journey, there's nothing negative or positive. It's only curiosity. And I know you love using that word a lot, don't you?
I do.
Curiosity.
I do. I do. I think curiosity is the cornerstone of this journey.
Yeah.
If you try to embark on this journey from a mindset of anything other than curiosity, it is going to be nearly impossible because you're
Yeah.
closed, right?
Yep.
Curiosity inherently means you have an open mind and an open heart, and that is a beautiful way to approach
Yep.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
So here I was with the date of the photo shoot finally booked, and me like having to realistically give up on the idea I was going to lose any weight for the photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to have to face it and face the camera and do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is where you came in to help. And also I have this little thing where I love to, because I'm full of fears, the way I deal with my fears is by booking something and just going ahead with it and not letting my mind or my ego have any chance for me to backtrack.
Yeah.
Right. So it was booked in. I actually flew the photograph from Scotland, which I feel sounds quite like a diva. I quite like
It
that
does.
idea.
It does.
But there was a reason. There was a reason because, and for those of your listeners who are not in England or in the UK, I'm in the southwest of England, and Scotland it's only a 1 hour flight away. So in a way, it kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
Europe is fairly small.
Yeah.
But the reason why I flew her was for several reasons. But one of them is because, well, she's a client of mine, interestingly enough. And I did a business Akashic record session for her, and I saw her traveling as a photographer. And I didn't completely forgot about it. Like, because it comes out of me, then I close the records, and I can't remember everything I said to all my clients because that would be extremely tiring. So yeah. I completely forgot about it until she said to me, oh my God, that advice was so good. I'm actually going to photograph 50 women over 50. That's my goal. And I'm like, I'm in. I've got to be in. This is my woman.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how it happened. So she flew in. She stayed with me, actually. We took the whole day. And I carefully crafted every single piece of my photo shoot along the way. Some pieces I crafted probably even 5 or 6 years ago, but they all meant something. And of course, as time evolved in the last 5 to 6 years, I've actually refined my brand. And of course, nobody knows what I'm doing as a business because I haven't talked about my business yet. But
Please do though. Like share. Just please go ahead and share.
Only as of interest to your audience. So that's why I'm talking about the rest of the stuff first. But it's important. So my brand was refined to the point where I knew that navy blue is my color for a specific reason, that there had to be some light in it because it's in my name and it's in the work that I do. I bring light to a lot of subjects because I want people to light up their intuition, to be able to be self-referred. And a lot of it is important in eating and health and everything else, because what works for one person doesn't work for another. And intuitive eating is super important for me, but like intuitive eating as it's written at the moment in books doesn't mean anything to me. Intuitive eating is, for me, is much more, it's much deeper. That's that we're going to that depth again.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to circle back just a little bit to the chocolate piece, because I never had what I call a problem with chocolate before. And it's still not a problem. It's my mind kind of playing games,
Yeah.
Until March 2019. I'm pretty sure it was March 2019 when I had a car accident that changed my life, like from one moment to the other. And I didn't have massive injuries, but I had an internal injury. I had a double whiplash, uh, neck and lower back, which created such intense pain that I wasn't able to sit down for 6 months or stay in one position for any long period of time for 6 months. I was in excruciating pain constantly. I couldn't take any pain medication because the ones that I used before didn't touch the pain, and the ones that could have touched the pain had such severe side effects for me that I just couldn't take them.
Right.
Like I really felt I was on drugs, and I couldn't function at all.
Mhm.
So I was left with a void, and my body said, chocolate girl, look into that.
Mhm.
Dark chocolate, I like dark chocolate. And that's why I started taking chocolate, and it actually helped with my pain. So I started taking it daily. And it's only 6 months after that I found a study, a serious study. No, not one of those that you people share on social media, but a serious study, as serious as it can get for me, because I'm not a scientist. But that evidence that chocolate has a component that helps with pain. And I was like, oh my God, my body knew all along
Yeah.
what it needed. And for those 6 months after the accident, I kept on beating myself up about eating that chocolate when I really needed it. My body knew. And I didn't trust her.
Yeah.
And that's mean.
Yeah.
And I still do it.
Mhm.
That's me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. You still do it, but not nearly as much.
Not nearly as much. But then, of
No.
course, that became a habit.
Yes.
And once I was in the habit, then that was also difficult to get out of it. And then recently it got out of control, like about a year ago. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Like up to then I could get, it was probably my consumption was probably 1 to 2 squares of dark chocolate a day, which is totally reasonable.
Yep.
Nothing to worry about
Yep.
when you have a worrying mind like mine about food and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And and then I got to like eating the whole thing. Like suddenly it was like, oh my God, I've never had an eating disorder before. This is crazy. What's going on? I felt out of control.
Yeah.
So I started judging myself even more.
Mhm.
Um, I think I know what my body was trying to do, but I'm still judging her.
Mm.
However, the funny thing is, so I went ahead with the photo shoot. I thought I would look like an elephant because that's my mental image, but I already had that image when I was in my 20s and when I was so much thinner than I am today.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I'm thinking, oh my God, what a stupid girl. And I still think the same,
Mhm.
I'm still stupid in that respect. But I've been trained and conditioned by not just my mom and my grandmother, by my sister, by my peers, by the girls in school, by the magazines, by every single woman I've bumped into my entire life.
Yeah.
So how could I not be conditioned to look at myself that way?
Mhm.
And unlearning something takes time.
It sure does. Yes, it sure does.
And so I did the typical thing I did in 2009 after the photographer took the picture. First, the whole day was like, smile. I was like, I tried and tried. And luckily, she was very nice. And I was in my own home and we went to my favorite restaurant. And I know how to trick myself to be in front of the camera because I started empowering myself with selfies 5 years ago. And the
Mhm.
first time I tried to take a selfie, I literally deleted it immediately. And then little by little, because I had more control over what the camera was doing to me, I became friends with my phone. But I wasn't friends with other people's phones or cameras because there are a lot of amateur photographer out there that can make you look like you're worse
Yeah.
in seconds.
Yep.
And that's the only pictures I remember. That's why I've always had such a rubbish self-image. It didn't help that as a child, I had really, really thick glasses that made me look like a frog.
Mm.
And I was picked on and I was bullied because I was a complete misfit and I had no friends. So all this kind of piled on top of me. So Hannah comes, the photographer from Scotland, and we spend the day together and she takes all the pictures. And I noticed how I just didn't want her to show me anything she was doing. Like, just don't show me. Let's just get on with this thing and let's get it done and over with, right?
Mhm.
So that was on on Tuesday, and she says, "Oh, I should have the photos by the end of the week," and she didn't. And then in the end, I just and I just thought I'd send a quick email. Okay, we'll agree on a time. Monday, it's in the diary. And I was like, I was dreading that moment even more than being in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, please. Why do I have to go through this? Someone else just choose a picture and slap it at the back of my book. Right? Just
Yeah.
let's get on with this thing
Yeah.
and let's get it done and over with. By the way, what's really, really lovely is that I just only received my book with my picture at the back. So I love synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had forgotten that today was the podcast recording, but my book hasn't. My book knows.
The book knows. The book always knows.
So she did a presentation actually.
Yeah.
Of the pictures.
Yeah.
With lovely words. To show me all the different pictures. I think there must have been 10 or 15. I can't remember. And I just cried. I simply cried. Because what I saw on these cameras was a beautiful woman that I just couldn't see. I still couldn't see her only 2 hours before. So I've been processing this before, but I'm also very aware that what is beauty anyway? I don't want to say, oh yeah, look, I'm one of the lucky ones. I look at behind the camera. Now I feel I'm beautiful. You're not. Tough for you, right?
Yeah.
No, that sucks. So I don't want people to think, oh, I've proved something to myself. I'm in the good girl club now and you're left wherever you want. I want everyone to feel beautiful.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And I'm always reminded of one girl I knew at uni who wasn't particularly beautiful by any standards. And she wasn't particularly slim either. But when she walked into the room, oh my God, the room lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the confidence. It's loving yourself no matter what.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're imperfect. I mean, I have a little thing here on my face. I don't even know what it's called. I call it a bump, but I think it's some sort of whatever. And I could obsess over it. Frankly, get over it. I'm telling myself all the time, because why does it matter? Right. I have the most hideous what's it called, mole under my arm, and my kids often kind of look at it and like, "Ew, mom." I'm like, excuse me, it's my body, don't talk to her like that.
Yeah.
It's there. I said, well, maybe it'll be useful when you have to identify me when I die, you'll know, oh, the gross thing that mom had under her arm, that came useful finally. We know it's mom, it's there.
It's the little things. Oh my goodness. I love that. But no,
it put things in perspective,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like when we're talking about beauty is subjective, right? And beauty has changed. If you look over the past few decades, yes, but also the past few hundred or even few thousand years at different civilizations, beauty is subjective and beauty standards are constantly changing. But the one thing that doesn't really change is that your energy and confidence, right? If you walk into a room and you are maybe stereotypically not what society currently considers beautiful, but you are feeling yourself and you know that you're good and you're accepting of everything that you are, people will know. And more importantly, you're going to know. And it stops being an issue. It stops being good or bad or right or wrong. It just like, I am who I am,
Yeah. I want to get back to that because one of the things I found the most difficult to accept about my body was my hair.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was born in a family of straight-haired people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the curliest hair you could find anywhere, to the point where people made jokes of, whether my dad was my dad, and which is really, really, really distasteful when you say that to a child, It's like, please, come on.
That's gross.
But anyway, and of course, my mother never knew how to help me to look after my hair. So it was always a problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as when I was a lawyer, having curly hair is not really considered professional either. So I try to plait it, braid it, tie it, put it in a bun, which looked very good. All that sort of things. But I didn't really accept my hair. And so that's been a journey. But what's been really, really interesting as part of that is when I've been diving into the whole diversity and inclusion thing.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, I saw that actually the straight hair thing is not a neutral thing. It's actually a white privilege thing. And
Mhm.
so I was experiencing, as a white privileged woman, some of the experience that people who have curly hair, who are maybe from different races, experience on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And in my photo shoot 2 weeks ago, I considered straightening my hair because the photo shoot I had in 2009 had straight hair, and I wanted people to have like a real before and after picture.
Yeah.
But my son said absolutely not.
Good. Good.
He was going to come between me and any hairdresser. And there's another layer to that, is that I cannot find a hairdresser that will respect my curls.
Mhm. Mhm.
All they do is blow dry my hair and then cut it, and then it doesn't fit, because once my hair is curly, and most people who have curly hair will understand that it has different types of curls. They're all different, shapes, width, bounce. And so if you cut my hair like a straight person hair, it's just not going to work. I'm
Right.
going to look like a hot mess.
Yes.
So there was that aspect. And my son is now the one who cuts my hair, because we bought the curly hair handbook, and we have a method that we can do at home. And until I find a hairdresser that I can trust with my hair, I am not going to the hairdresser. And I haven't been to the hairdresser since 2013, something like that, maybe even before that, which is crazy when you think about it.
It is crazy.
But I can't trust. And I did have a chat with actually I only have one other friend who has the same kind of hair as me, and she's mixed race Jamaican. So we have the most interesting conversations about this. And we even have a selfie with both of us. And it's just amazing, because I'm like a white version of her. It's really, really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there needs to be more respectful hairdressers as well.
Yes.
Of diversity and inclusion. And I know that sounds like, but it's only a hairdresser. No, it's never just about the hair. It's never just about the hair.
That's it. It's not about the hair. It's not about, it's about
When
respecting our differences and honoring them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And bless my grandmother, I'm going back to her one more time, because my grandmother, bless her soul, if you entered her, she lived, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about her background. She was a very ambitious young woman. Well, not when I met her, when she was my grandma, but who was, she was actually a post office girl to start with. And she's so ambitious that she climbed her way all the way up to being the executive assistant to the CEO of one of the biggest companies, businesses in France. So very, very ambitious. She didn't have any education because her dad died in the war, and her mum, because she was, there was no childcare at the time. The only option for childcare was to put your child in an orphanage. So basically my grandmother was put in an orphanage at 6 years old, which is very, very sad.
Wow.
The first thing that my grandmother would say every time I walked through her council flat door was, she would tell me if I put on weight. And if I'd had from her eye scan, she would immediately tell me, girl, you need to be careful. You're putting on weight here. It's not on. And the second thing is check my hair. And of course, because I was her only granddaughter who had curly hair, very often if I didn't keep it the way she thought I should keep it, she would tell me, and she would say that in like in the most innocent way. Oh, are you trying to catch the spider webs with your hair today? And I was like, what? Grandmother, I don't believe you. But that's what she did all the time. So, I mean, there's no, you've got to laugh about this. That's my grandmother. And she raised my mum, who was probably as fierce, if not worse, than she was. So here you are talking about women, but she was as ferocious with herself as she was with other women.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a woman, and my mum, who as soon as a woman turned their back on them, would criticize them in such a way. And I was the witness of it, because of course I was the child left with them. And I was horrified by the way they talked about people behind their backs.
Yeah.
And have you seen that girl? Oh my God. Of course, you're talking Parisian girls, okay? Women who live in Paris, fashion town.
Yeah.
And it made me feel sick,
Mm-hmm.
really, really sick. Because I didn't just have the magazine in my house. I had the ladies who were behind the magazine almost with
Right.
it,
Right.
with the
Right.
running commentary and everything else.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, you would never see my grandmother without her hair done, her nails done, and her makeup done.
Mm-hmm.
Like when, as a little girl, I would just watch her for hours. If she came over for dinner and we had some guests, she'd go in the bathroom first thing before the guests arrived, and she'd put makeup on for 30 minutes. And I just watched her mesmerized by what
Yeah.
she was doing. It's like,
Yeah.
what is she doing? What's that paint on your face, Grandma?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love kids. Oh, I love the innocence of kids. But I mean, it's no wonder that you then took that on. If that,
Internalized.
yeah, that's the word. Thank you. You internalized it because that was your childhood. You were surrounded with it every day. It was at home. It was when you went out in public. It was
Yeah.
everywhere. And you could have chosen the same route as your mother. You could have chosen to just like, this is my life and I'm just going to try to keep up and I'm just going to criticize other women and I'm just going to do this. And
Oh, no,
you
no.
ran kicking and screaming in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Thankfully. Thankfully.
It felt so wrong. And this is
Yeah.
where we come with the intuition bit,
Yeah.
the intuition piece.
Yeah.
I am so grateful to my intuition. That's also why I teach intuition as well, as you know. I'm the intuition guru, whatever, in business, is
Mm-hmm.
because I felt it in my body. I felt this does not feel right. I
Yeah.
cannot do this.
Yeah.
And I trusted my intuition.
Yeah.
And that's how I didn't end up racist, ageist,
Mm-hmm.
ableist,
Mm-hmm.
and all the ism that are in my family. I think my family is an ism tree, right? An ism family tree.
Yeah.
Everything you can find with the ism, it's there.
Right. Right.
And it just felt gross. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I can understand for someone who might not, a child, it can be conditioned into it. There's no judgment there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All we need is to come to a point maybe of opening our eyes at one point in time and say, what prejudice do I have?
Yeah.
What do I need to look at?
Yeah.
And how does it affect me as well? Because you cannot judge other people without judging yourself. It's not possible.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And on that
And usually you judge other people because you judge yourself.
there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
And you're so worried about being judged by other people because you are judging yourself so harshly and you assume that everybody is going to do the same. And
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
that's why as you learn to stop judging yourself or judge yourself less, you become less concerned about what other people are thinking because it doesn't matter because they're not reflecting it back to you anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So liberating.
So liberating. It sure is. It sure is. I want to hear from you. So, you grew up in this household where you learned to judge yourself very, very harshly.
And I was compared to my sister constantly.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that bit, that piece.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful piece of the puzzle. It's
yeah.
going to fit so perfectly. My sister was labeled as the thin but ugly, and I was labeled as the fat but pretty. How's that?
Like you can't win. You can't win.
So
right? It's like everybody
I had to
loses.
put more weight on because otherwise my sister she was a bit of a bully with me and she hated me because I was this pretty girl and she wanted to be pretty and she wasn't. So she would bully me constantly. So I continued to put more and more weight on to protect myself from my sister and her jealousy and my mother's jealousy as well. My mother was so jealous of me because she really didn't age well. And of course she could see that I was like a mini version of her but younger and probably more clever. And it was just unbearable for her. So she had to bring my light down. She had to crush me as much as she could.
Yeah.
So that she could survive.
Yeah. And that what you just said there about putting weight on as like a shield, as protection, like you were protecting yourself from your sister's wrath, you were protecting yourself from your mother. That's such an important piece when we look at weight. And I don't want to talk about like weight loss specifically, but just sometimes carrying extra weight is a symptom of something deeper. In fact, I would say the vast majority of the time, it's a symptom of something deeper. And the fact that
it wasn't safe to be
yeah,
slim and beautiful and intelligent and everything else. I was always too much for everyone.
Right. Right. So by putting weight on, yeah, it was a shield. It was, see, I'm not the perfect one. See, this is what's wrong with me. See, this is where I can hide.
Yeah.
This is where I
Yeah.
can hide.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
Yeah. So I want to ask you where you're at on your self-love journey right now. You're in this place where you've just had this amazing photo shoot done. You are actively learning to unlearn all of the things that you have, sort of picked
Yeah.
up through your life. You recognize that it is still a journey and it is always unfolding.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, you just decided to pick up the camera and start taking selfies. You
Yeah.
decided to face these fears. You decided to like go all in and start facing this. What was your motivation? Why did you start? Because it would be really easy to just live your whole life and just hate what you look like and never
Continue.
face it. So why the
Yeah.
shift? Why did you change?
So there was two things. First, I wanted to be an example for my children, especially my daughters.
Yeah.
I wanted to break the cycle. I always wanted to. And so I felt that as an obligation towards them. Because before I became a mum, I went into therapy and I decided that the line would be drawn in front of me of all the baggage from me and my ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that very, very seriously. And I probably could have done it that earlier than I did, but it was part of the things that my motivation.
Yep.
The second thing is I became an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, you just don't have a choice. You have to be visible unless you want to hide behind your business, which I tried to do for a while and it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
So I had to become the centerpiece of my business and I had to become visible. And I had no choice because I have a mission. I have something I'm passionate about. I care about my business. My business is so much bigger than me. I'm here to change the world in my own little way, in my own little corner, and that I had to I had to get over myself because I had something bigger to do than worry about the spot on my nose or the extra fat on my hips. That just doesn't matter at all in the grand picture of things. And that's why when I was younger, when I was in my 15, 16, when I was a teen, I loved astronomy. That was my hobby and my passion.
Yep.
Because I could sit in the field, lie down at night and look at all the pictures and say, my problems don't really matter that much.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, look at the universe, look at the stars, look at wow. My spot on my nose, oh my God, why would I even notice it?
Yep.
No one else does anyway. Unless they're a bully and they want to have a go at you. And the best way you can do to get rid of them is like pretending it's not there, because then they can say it and you don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you absolutely did. You did. And I want to know what tools or practices or exercises or support has been most helpful on your self-love journey to date. Like if there's somebody listening who is maybe still in that place of really criticizing themselves and they're going, but what can I do?
Yeah. So sadly, it's only going to help for mums. But I'll try and see if I can find something else for other women without children, because basically it's been my two daughters. Yeah. They have been amazing in helping me heal my self-hate. And because when you take in the pushchair or you carry your child around, your daughter in particular, because there's a lot of comparison between mum and daughter, naturally or unnaturally, because actually one of my daughters was assigned female at birth and now is my son. So I've had that transition to do as well, and that really interesting journey to go through with him. But when he was little and he presented as female, every single person who came across the two of us would always say, oh my God, your daughter's gorgeous and she looks just like you do. And she just like this was like a motto I heard again and again and again, probably once, 2, 3 times a day. Oh my God, your daughter's so gorgeous and she looks just like you. It sinks in. The repetition, just the repetition. And it worked after a while. It didn't do all the job, but it certainly did some of the job. And then the other thing that was tremendous with that child, my son, is that he would tell me every single day, Mom, you're beautiful and I love you. Even during his teen years. Yeah. Which I didn't hear any other mums say that about their teens. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. You know, I need to hear this and you're telling me, and I'm so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, what would you do if you didn't have the children that I had, which I'm very, very lucky to have had,
Mm-hmm.
and you needed to work on your self-worth? Well, I would say stand in front of the mirror and pretend that this is your best friend in the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and tell her as if she was your friend, not yourself, everything you would tell her if she was sitting in front of you or if she was your daughter. Just go ahead and shower her, smother her with love.
Yeah.
And compliments.
Yeah.
That's the best I can find for your audience.
Yeah. I love that.
That would be as close to what I experienced with my daughters or
Right.
my children, let's say.
Right. It's so easy for us to shower love and kindness on others, isn't it? We generally speaking, we as women are conditioned to we're givers and we're nurturers, and we do that for other people, but then we always sort of sell ourselves short at the end. We get whatever's left if we're lucky. And I love that idea of just start by pretending, start by looking at yourself, but pretending, because that's a beginning. It's like within the comfort zone, you already know how to do that, and it's just beginning the shift. It's beginning the shift of aiming that back at yourself.
So if today Katie was in the mirror, what would I tell her?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, you're gorgeous. Look at your eyes. Oh, your eyes are shining light. And your smile makes me so happy. And you can do that if you pretend you're talking to your best friend.
Yeah, you sure can.
I think.
You sure can. Yeah. Yeah. And now, Ange, tell us a little bit about how, because you said, I want to talk about your business, because your business is bigger than you and your business is really important. And you are one of my clients, but I am also one of your clients. I really believe in what you're doing. And so I want to know just a little bit, how did this journey of self-love, how is it impacting your business? How do you see them working together going forward?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, because I literally forced myself in front of a camera because I had to. So my business has given me a tremendous opportunity to love myself more, because it's put me in the spot where I had to. Because if you hate yourself, you come on camera, people don't want to talk to you. You'll repel them.
Yep.
So not only do you have to come on camera, you have to be comfortable on camera, and you have to, saying that you love what you look like on camera might be a bit too far, but just to get used to it and just get on with it. And pretend that, well, at first I pretended nobody was watching, and it wasn't such a good strategy because nobody was watching. So I sent out the energy out to the universe. It's okay, no one's watching. And because I sent that energy, I probably blocked everyone from wanting to watch my videos.
Right.
That's the first layer we can let go of. Like, let's peel that one while we're here.
Yeah.
I think for me, intuition lives in the body. It lives as feelings, sensations, heaviness or lightness, so you need to be embodied in order to be able to receive the messages from your intuition. And from that perspective, it's been massive, 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 because as long as I couldn't be embodied, as long as I hated my body, I didn't have half as much access to the intuition that I'm supposed to have access to. Wow. And also because fear, worry, criticism, and intuition cannot live in the same space. Mm-hmm. So you need to love yourself a lot to be able to receive your intuition and trust yourself over everyone else. Because that's what it is. Like, the journey of intuition is the journey of valuing your own opinion, your own sensations, and your own and the own inner knowing that you know what's right for you, even if it's not right for someone else. You're not trying to convince everybody to do what you're doing for yourself, but you're also sure in yourself that what you're doing is right for you. Yeah. So you're happy to pursue that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen that connection before in quite that way. So thank you for that.
Nobody's ever asked the question before. So thank you for the question.
And if there is somebody listening who is like, ooh, business intuition, ooh, what is she talking about? Can you just give us a quick summary of what exactly your business is and what you do and what
Okay.
you offer?
So I will say, in a nutshell, I support brilliant entrepreneurs who want success on their terms, right?
Mhm.
Because my business doesn't look like anyone else's business, not just because it's someone else's business, but it's because I have a life um, where I put my children as a priority, and I've had to. And that's why I had to leave my corporate job, because I have four autistic children that have very special needs, and I needed to be there for them in a way that my job didn't allow me to be, because I was a single mom on the start of my journey. I mean, obviously not on the very start, but very soon. I had to find that flexibility of being able to, when my firstborn, who's now doing very well, but he would constantly forget things because he had ADD as well. And so from the word go, when I was a mum, it wasn't actually from the word go, but yes, it was like my job and my private life were becoming torn apart, like pulled apart with these elastic bands that were like, until the elastic just broke.
Yeah,
It wasn't possible for me. Did you see the light come on when I said that
I sure
in
did.
my office?
Yep.
The energy.
Yep.
So I like to say I was spit out of the corporate world, because I just couldn't be the mom that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Once I stayed there, and I didn't have the courage to leave that corporate job. I loved my job as a lawyer. I had such an interesting career. I traveled the entire world for my job, rubbing shoulders with CEOs, ministers, all sorts of really interesting people. But it did nothing for me as a mother.
Mm.
So I've created success on my terms, because I only work 1 day a week in my business, and the rest of the week I homeschool my children.
Mm-hmm.
I had no role model anywhere out there to show me how to do success on my terms. And also, for the longest of time, until I finally opened my eyes 6 months ago, I kept on measuring my success on the yardstick of people who work full time or who have a business full time. So I constantly beat myself up about being a failure, because
Mm-hmm.
I have a huge imposter syndrome. It just compounded, and it was awful. So I want to be there for people like me who are brilliant. And I know I am brilliant, and I know I have a brilliant business, but who wants to have success on their terms, whatever that means. For some people, it means that they want to be an influencer, and then fine, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, it's that's your part of your purpose, then go for it. And now I will be the first one to support you 100%. There's no judgment there, because we are all in it for different reasons.
Yeah.
And the only way you can create success on your terms is by connecting to your inner wisdom and deciding what is right for you along the way. There is a million ways to do business, and every business coach will shout over the rooftop that their way is the best way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to teach you to say that, yeah, that might be right, but only that part of what they teach. And then this piece, folks, like making a puzzle out of all different kind of pieces of puzzles that other people present to you, and see what matches and what doesn't, and making it fit exactly as it's supposed to in your own business, so that you create this beautiful, unique puzzle for yourself.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
I've never explained it that way, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Success on your terms. And I work with a framework that I call the epic wisdom. And the wisdom bit, like slided in after epic only about a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So my epic framework I've had for a while, and it's based on what I call the 4 pillars of businesses, especially if you want to have a business that is strong and that take you as far as you're supposed to go. Because if without good foundations, your business will be like a castle in the sand.
Right.
So the 4 foundations for me are energy, prosperity, intuition, and what I call the triple C. And it always makes me smile, because Einstein comes to mind every time I say the triple C, which is clarity, courage, and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wisdom piece slid in a couple of months ago, and it's the intuition piece of the epic wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, what if I knew the answer? This is the first question you should always ask yourself. And then you have some inner work to do. You have to learn how to read the signs. You have to declutter your life. You have to keep an open mind, and you have to aim for mastery, because intuition is never done. It's a master's path.
Yeah.
It requires commitment and training and a mentor, I would say. Definitely
Yes.
a mentor.
Yes. Yes. I love listening to you speak about this. I identify so strongly with it. And every time I've heard you talk about it many times, I listen to your podcast as well, which I'm going to link in the show notes if anybody's interested. But, you know, I mean, I watch your videos and I listen to your podcast, and every time I hear you speak about it, I get goosebumps because it resonates so strongly with me. It's such a
Thank you.
beautiful way of moving through the world and of creating a business. And it's like, it's about you and about lighting you up. This isn't just about, like, yes, you get to make good money, but it's not just about raking in the money at the expense of your happiness or at the expense of your integrity or at the expense of any of that.
And you can have both.
Right.
Loads of money and loads of integrity and loads
Yes.
of fun.
Yes. I am on board. Let's
Yeah.
bring it. Bring it.
Yeah. So if I can say one more thing, because I
Please.
realized that you wanted this to be half an hour and we're nearly on the hour.
Yes.
My book just arrived at home. It's not ready yet for sale as a paperback, but if people wanted to sign up for my author newsletter,
Yes.
I've actually started selling the ebook at the pre-launch price of £4.44, which is a very small, lovely price.
Yep.
Not on Amazon. It's on a platform called Lulu. But if you sign up for my author's newsletter, and I will give you the link for the show notes, what I'm running in November, starting today actually, is a book club for the early adopters of the intuitive revolution in business, which is the title of my book.
Mm-hmm.
And this book club, basically, I'm running you through all the chapters in the book and helping you to implement it as you read it. Because there's nothing worse than buying a book and not doing anything with it, or reading it and then says, that was interesting. And then you move on to the next thing and you've done nothing with it.
Yep.
Because I'm so passionate about starting the intuitive revolution, I've created this free book club for November only, where people can join after they buy the ebook, and of course, obviously, after they buy the paperback, so that they can actually start implementing and seeing some results in their business from the book club.
I love it. Okay, I'm definitely going to link to that in the show notes. And we're going to make sure that, you know, like your website and your podcast and all of the places that anybody can, you know, if they want to get a hold of you.
But I just realized actually that this might not be aired in November. So I'm just like wondering, maybe that, but they can still buy the book.
We'll get you out of November.
Buy the book.
We will get this out of November.
Okay.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
So Ange, as
no
we
pressure
are,
there, no pressure.
No pressure, not at all. So, you know, we are near the end of our time together. I just want to ask you, is there anything else you would like to add? Anything else about your self-love journey? Anything else that you would like to add to somebody who is maybe considering embarking on this journey or committing themselves to it? Any other bits of wisdom or advice?
So I would say start small, because there's no point telling yourself you're beautiful in the mirror if you don't feel it. Mm-hmm. And that actually aggravates your feelings of self-hate. Yeah. So I would say start maybe by refraining from criticizing yourself. Like I remember when I was in my 20s, I would call myself a fat cow every day. I haven't called myself that in decades. Yeah. But I used to do that. And so all it takes is to stop that. And it might be difficult at the start, you might have to stop yourself in your tracks. You might still say it a couple of times. It's fine, as long as you become aware. And every time you practice that, you get better and better until this habit will completely disappear, like mine has. Mm-hmm. And I only remember it because I've been, reflecting on my journey. But if you'd asked me today, and you caught me on the day when I'm half awake, and you asked me, did you used to call yourself a fat cow? I said, no, of course not. Yeah. I know I have.
You have.
Consistently.
Yeah.
So start small. Yeah. And enroll your children with you, if you have children, or your nieces, or another child, and observe them. Observe a baby and how much babies love their bodies, how they catch their little toes and think that they're the most fun toy in the world, and how they giggle, and how they, they observe their hands and lick them and whatever. Try to be a baby again. Babies love their bodies, except when they're hungry, when they want to poop, or when they're cold. But apart from that, they just love their bodies. They do. And we should do the same.
Yep, we should do the same. Okay, we're going to leave it there. I love that. That's great advice. Nice and simple. Start small. Be like a baby. Love it. Okay,
Thank
Ange,
you so much for having me, Katie. That's been such an honor.
it has been such a pleasure. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us. All of the links mentioned during the episode are down in the show notes. Please make sure to go on over and check them out. Also, please remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and I would be forever grateful if you would go on over and leave us a review on iTunes as well. That's going to help this message reach more women. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Here is to you loving yourself.